Oh, real quick. From that last pass, I mentioned this before, but just a quick reminder. There's lots of different options from that trap from half guard. You don't have to dive over and do the back take and everything like that. You can always take the easy route because it's a really good way just to get to the mount, right? So I get here, I free my knee. I can either like push off and just come back to the side and try to finish from here, right? Or I could just turn my hips and just go to the mount and start to finish from here, right? It's much easier, not quite as complicated, but nobody's gonna remember your name if you take the easy route, right? Just take the back and be flashy with it. Just kidding. All right, so next moves from half guard bottom. This is some really fun stuff. I love this series from Gi or No Gi. It's really powerful, all the Kimura trap stuff. So we're gonna restart back to the Kimura from the bottom. Remember, we're trying to use our knee shield as much as we can to have distance control between our hips so that I actually finish the Kimura from the bottom. So as I sit up, it would be great if I could have this knee shield, right? So I could use that to like separate and get the submission, right? But sometimes we're not always that fortunate to have the knee shield. Sometimes people pass it. Sometimes you don't have any kind of guard whatsoever. All of these techniques work with or without the half guard. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're doing this. If it's too hard for you to keep this bottom leg because of flexibility or something like that, just go ahead and pull it out. It's not a big deal at all. So what we're gonna do, as I'm attacking this Kimura, right? And remember from the start, if I don't have a knee shield, right? I'm not gonna fully commit my grips until I have something, okay? So right now, because her arm is out and it's exposed, like drop down a little bit, like this, right? If I commit my wrists together, she's gonna be able to counter Kimura by trapping that in and then shoulder locking me, right? Which is not fun. If the hand is between the legs, I'm gonna get my grips and I can punch my arm straight. Now she can't counter Kimura me and she can't armbar me and stuff like that. So we beat the counters by punching this arm straight and as deep between their legs as possible. So just remember that if you don't have either the arm between the legs or a knee shield, it's usually best not to commit that second grip just yet. But I'm here, I've got the arm between the legs. I'm trying to push my arm as straight as I can to keep her arm as deep as possible, right? A lot of times people are gonna posture up a little bit, and it can even, with the knee shield, it can be really hard to finish the Kimura itself. So what we're gonna do instead, I'm gonna take my left leg, the one that would be a knee shield, I'm gonna take it out, around, and I'm gonna go over her head, right? So I bring my knee up as close to my face as I can, and then I'm gonna put my heel right in her hip. Right now, Michelle's actually staying really tight on her left side, so it's hard, I can't reach her hip, right? It just doesn't work, her shoulder's in the way. All I'm gonna do is use my hamstring to push her head out of the way, right? And then I just take my foot, put it right in the hip, okay? Now that I'm here, now I've got that distance control that I need so I can push away on her hip, push away with my arms, and I've got a really strong Kimura finish here. If I wanted to, I could even pull my hips out a little bit to get even more rotation. It's a really strong finish for the first Kimura. So I'm here, arm goes between the legs, so I'm stiff arming, right? Taking my leg out, up and over the top, foot in the hip. Okay, once I have the foot in the hip, I just extend away, break whatever grip she has on her leg to defend, and now I can work her wrist up towards the back of her head. And remember, if you're here, posture up a little bit, and maybe they're pushing into you or something like that, and you just can't get this foot on there, your hamstring, your leg is really strong in this position. Just stop, redirect her head, bring my foot to the inside, pop the grip off, and we'll finish here. You could technically finish on the armbar as well if you lose the Kimura, but I don't have any squeeze with my legs, so this position I really try to finish the Kimura or even a wrist lock instead. The Kimura is very strong from here. So we're gonna do a couple parts to this move tonight. We'll start with that first one and not spend too much time on it because everything we do is gonna expand off of that footwork. So we'll just grab a partner, we'll do a couple minutes each on just that first Kimura, and then we'll move on. Are there any questions on this before we go? Good, let's go. 1, 2, 3. When you get your grips and everything, sometimes you guys are having a hard time even getting your leg out, right? If the person's laying on you and she's got her arm on the mat, she's hugging my hip, I'm not gonna do this technique, right? If she's here and she's low, I'm gonna be working to either get my knee shield in or just the butterfly hook and then use that to finish instead, right? Obviously, I'm not gonna fight against something I can't get. I'm not gonna try and force something like that. We just take what we're given, right? So in that case, we're just gonna use the butterfly hook. So for our next step, right, I'm here. So again, make as much space as you need, right? Move your hips out. So this time what I'm gonna do is go over the top the same way, move her head a little bit if I need to. This time, instead of just going to the hip, this time I'm gonna take my foot, and sometimes you have to kind of go up on your shoulder a little bit to get here, so use your toes on your half guard leg on the bottom. Kind of pick yourself up a little bit, like push off of them with your hamstring and like lift yourself up. Because I wanna put my foot in and all the way across the hips this time. And then I go back to my back. What happens when I put this leg all the way across and I'm hooking on her far hip over there, the arm is definitely guaranteed to come out, but now her body weight pushing down on my leg is smashing my knees together and it's trapping her upper arm really tight. So now this is a really good opportunity for me just to straight arm lock right here. So usually what we'll do is just kind of point the thumb, make sure the thumb is pointing away from your head. And a lot of times when you do this one too, you're like twisting a little bit too, so it ends up being more like this. It's a really, really tight arm lock. I think it's probably one of the tighter arm locks, arm bars that you can do, because there's so much weight smashing on that upper arm. Good isolation of the joint. All right, so I'm here. She's defending by sticking her arm in there. Good, I punch it straight. Move my hips out as much as I need to. Leg goes across, all the way across the hip. Pop this grip out, switch to the wrist, and just finish right here, okay? You could also finish on the wrist lock both ways if you really don't want to keep any friends. It's a great way to finish. One more time. Over the top. Same thing as before. My hips are coming out. And again, if this bottom leg comes out for whatever reason, that's totally fine. I don't really care about that leg. It's not really going to change very much in this technique because I'm still going to go across and I still have a really tight pinch. Pop this arm out, switch to the wrist, and just finish. Now what happens a lot of the time here, whether my foot is hooked or not, when you're finishing this, she feels the pressure just like with the Kimuras in the last week's class. She's probably going to roll. If she does, I just follow, step over the head, and then finish from the top. One more time. Okay. Set my Kimura. Over the top, foot across, drive that thing across there. As I start to go, she goes, right? Just unhook the half our leg from the leg, step over the head, hit your knees tight, thumb to the ceiling. And remember about the thumb too. I don't have to use my hips for the fulcrum. If she's really fighting me and turning her thumb one direction, right? Just look at the direction of the thumb and push the hand in the opposite direction because now my fulcrum is going to be over here. For the arm lock. If she points it the other way, I just swing back to the other side, right? You just keep going back and forth, they're gonna tap. They have to tap one direction or the other. Okay, so just push the elbow against your knee essentially. All right, any questions on that step?
So the top knee is on the outside, not the inside.
Top knee is on the outside. Yeah?
Foot weaves through
Foot
the
goes.
opposite hip, like a scissors weave almost.
Yeah. And when I straighten my legs, I get a really tight pinch. A lot of times people roll because that arm lock is really tight. Cool? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. So this is my favorite of all of this series. I really like this one a lot because a lot of you guys know I really like to take the back, and this is a really slick back take. Surprised it's not top more because it's really sweet. So as I'm going, same exact setup as before. Everything's the same. Moving my hips out, bringing this leg across, making space if I need to with my hamstring. Except this time I'm just gonna hook on the inside of this close leg right here. Okay, I'm not gonna go all the way across to the far hip. I'm just gonna go to the inside. So a lot of times when you're here though, people get like a death grip on maybe their jacket, not jacket necessarily, but usually pants or something. They'll have such a good grip in there, like it can be really hard to pry this arm out, okay? So here's what I'm gonna do, it's really sweet. So I'm gonna take my left hand out, but as I take my left hand out, I'm gonna switch and hook with my right hand instead. So right now my left hand is hooking behind her elbow and grabbing my wrist. I just switch and I bring my right arm through, okay? So I'm banking on the fact that she's grabbing onto something really tight and not letting me get this arm out, right? So once I get to this position here, I'm still squeezing my legs, and because I have this hook here, she might not even necessarily know that I've switched my hands because she can't really see what's going on, right? All she's concerned with is the fact that I'm attacking this arm and she's in big trouble. And I can still, at any time, if this arm pops out, I can still finish this arm bar, okay? So it's always there. But what I'm gonna do is take my left hand, now that it's free, I'm gonna reach palm up and get a grip on the belt. And it doesn't necessarily matter where on the belt it is. If the person's a lot bigger than you, it might help to get a little further of a grip, but really just take what you get. Palm up grip though. It's really hard to do this with palm down. Get a palm up grip on the belt, all right? And then all in one motion, I'm gonna do it slow, but you have to do this fast when you're sparring. I keep my knees pinching tight to keep her shoulder trapped and in danger. I'm gonna pull my right arm out and sit up to my elbow, okay? And then just like we did with the collar drag in the class like 2 weeks ago or whatever, I'm gonna pull my bottom knee out and switch my hip to face her. And right as I do that, I'm gonna pull her belt to rotate her hips and pull her to my lap. So I sit up, I pull my bottom leg out, I switch my hips, and then I pull the belt. I already have my first hook in. I just have to put my second hook in, get some kind of control around the head, get my underhook, and then I'm on the back. It's one of those techniques that's 10 times easier to do fast than it is to do slow. So I want you guys to go as slow as you need to. Don't try to go too slow or it's just not gonna be very effective. So I'm here, the hips come out, foot goes in and just hooks on the near leg. So I have to switch my hands. If I don't switch my hands, it's not gonna work. So I switch, my left hand's going in now. I just switch and scoop to my right and grab the belt, okay? And as I'm grabbing the belt too, my elbow is driving into the back of like her lat and shoulder and all that to kind of keep her body turned that direction, hopefully keep her posture down a little bit. So I'm pulling on the belt now even. So I come up to my elbow, escape my leg first, pull, set my hooks, and start attacking that. More time. Just like before. This is a really good option too if someone's trying to do like an over-under pass. All of this stuff is really strong against over-under passes as long as you can clear that head, right? That's all we really need. So if you catch it early enough, it's a really good option to stop an over-under pass. So I hook, switch my hands, palm up grip on the belt, kind of drive that elbow in a little bit to the back, sit up to your elbow, right? Make sure you pull this leg out, otherwise it's gonna be really hard to get them in your lap. Pull, set your second hook, take some time to control, and start your choke. Get your finish. Any questions on that one? Great, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Super important that you don't let your arm go loose in this technique. Or the trapped arm, right? So if I'm here, right, when I pull this out and I hook, don't put your hand up like this. Do not put your hand up like this, all right? If your arm goes up, watch what happens. I'm not even gonna do it too fast, but if I turn my hips and her arm is straight, what do you think is gonna happen to her shoulder and her arm? Like, if you do that fast, you're gonna destroy somebody's shoulder. So make sure you're reaching into your leg the whole time, just to keep yourself safe, okay? All right, let's go, 1, 2, 3. All right, so you guys can certainly drill this stuff if you want or spar, it's totally up to you. Just kind of wanted to show you guys how we can tie in some of this other stuff, like that pendulum back take and all that. Kind of ties back into this position too, and I love using this. You just have to be careful of that arm bar for the person on top. But when I'm here, like if I lose my bottom leg at any point in time, right? We did that one sweep where we came around this way, extended, and then dropped the person onto their side, right? So if I use that pendulum motion from here, can you move your hand? This one. Okay. If I use that pendulum motion, like to do that really quick, and she has a really strong base, a lot of times you're gonna pull them into your lap. And then you're right back in this position where I can set my hooks in, finish on the back. That happens very frequently from that position as well. But also, like if I'm going for that type of stuff, and I happen to lose the momentum or whatever, maybe her base is just too good and I can't get her to go anywhere, right? I don't want to be really stuck in this position either. But if I just invert from this position, bring my knee into the side, I can get my foot back on the thigh and I'm right back to this position where I can attack from with all the stuff we did tonight. So using that like spin out or pendulum motion, we can go to that back take that we did from the top, and then also reincorporate some of this other stuff from there too. So Play around with the Kimura trap as much as you can. It's super fun. It's very, very strong. And you're gonna find new creative ways that we can get to the back and finish people and stuff like that. Like I said, there's stuff from like butterfly guard standing. There's stuff from single leg takedowns, double leg takedowns. There's so many ways to use the Kimura to your advantage to counter people and to get what you want. So we'll keep exploring it a little bit more, but I want you guys to start using it as much as possible. All right, great job tonight, everybody.